If you're looking for a silly action flick that goes perfectly with popcorn and a Saturday night or something like that, I have the perfect film for you. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to Flying Wiener and this new film review. I am talking today about the film Wasabi, which you may or may not know. It came out nearly 20 years ago and it seems to have been a mild disappointment at the box office according to my research. The budget was $18 million while the box office takings were only $10 million. It stars Reno and Ryoko Hirosue and it is set in Japan. What is it about? To put it very bluntly, there's not much you can spoil about this film. Like I say, it is a typically silly action film. And Jean Reno here plays the kind of 80s action star that just can't die and defies the laws of physics and all these things, which is what makes this film so great and enjoyable. He is a policeman in France, in Paris specifically, and he likes to go about things very, how should I say, directly. So basically, again, in the fashion of those classic action films, he just punches his way through every problem and out of every situation. His boss obviously has some troubles with him, trying to keep him under control. I won't spoil why, but he has to take a trip to Japan. And this is what the film is basically about. The majority of it is actually set in Japan, where he is joined by Ryoko Hirosue. I hope that I am not butchering that name, please forgive me if I do. And Michel Muller, which is also a French actor. And basically they are being hunted by gangsters, yakuza, in typical Japanese cliche fashion. And they get into various situations where they have to get out of. Now, that's all I'll tell you about the plot. There's not really that much that is going on outside of that. Obviously there are details that I'm hiding which fill out the picture, but that is all I'll tell you. And what makes this film interesting is not the plot, it's not the script. And I was quite interested to see online, because I had to look it up, that the film got very mixed to bad reviews, I'll call it, which I kind of understand, but to me this film falls into the category of, as I mentioned in my intro, it's a film you put on when you've got popcorn to enjoy and just have a lot of fun with on a Saturday evening. The main issue that people have with the film is the script, like I say, is not great. And just this invincibility that being an action hero comes with. It just is like that in this film. Jean Reno, he is basically invincible. And even, it's not like they're trying to hide it. So his character in every situation is just so sure of himself that he'll get out of everything. It's actually quite funny. Just watching him do it is so much fun, really. And as I mentioned, there's stuff with physics going on. That's another thing that people had an issue with, that there's just so many silly things going on. But I feel that they elevate the film. Just as an example, there's a lot of punching and shooting, as you can imagine, in this film. And whenever that happens, well, or specifically whenever Jean Reno does it, everyone just flies all over the place. So regardless of whether it's a punch or a shot with his .357 Magnum, people just take off basically. But it's so much fun because it's also so well edited that it feels at times like a bit of a slapstick film because of it, and it's perfect. It really is perfect. It reminds me a lot of a sort of Jackie Chan-esque action film, action comedy, and for that I feel it's absolutely perfect. Acting wise, it's actually fine. I mean, I like Jean Reno. I feel that he does a good job. Like I say, while he does have this smugness, I'll call it, where he knows that he can get out of every situation, he does show emotions at various points in the film. I won't explain to you why, but I feel those scenes are done very well, and he shows that he's not just an action star that can't really act. And particularly Ryoko Hirosue, I feel, does a great job when you pay attention to her, because she and her character are all over the place. She plays a 19-year-old, and she is obviously very lively, and while she does that very well too, you have a lot of emotion in her character, and I feel the acting is phenomenal. It is particularly interesting when you consider that the film is a French film, so I watched it in French, And Ryoko Hirosue, she does not speak any French. I read, when I researched this film, that she did her lines phonetically, so she learned them phonetically. Somebody said them to her, and she just learned by memory. So that to me is absolutely fascinating. I am not French. I had French for 6 years in school. Wasn't too great at it, I must admit. But to me at least, her French sounded excellent. It sounded really fluent. I mean, she's not even playing a French person, so even the character you could forgive if it is not flawless French. But like I say, it sounds really, really good. So considering that she had to memorize all these French lines, so in a language that she doesn't even speak, and still she's got some very emotional scenes in which I feel she performed really well. So that I think is a really, really good job. Those two are the main characters. I mentioned Michel Muller, but or Muller, is it Muller? Muller? No, not quite sure. Michel Muller, I'll say that is his name. Again, not too good at French despite 6 years. He has a more minor role. He's sort of like the sidekick in this film. I'm not familiar with him. I don't know if that is typically the role that he has in French films. He is very enjoyable. He's obviously there also for comic relief in many, many situations. Acting wise, I'd say it's fine. Direction is okay, I'll call it. I wasn't too happy during some fight scenes. There's just some very, very hectic editing going on. So there's a scene, for instance, where Jean Reno is fighting with a golf club, and there's just so many cuts. It's a bit, makes you a bit seasick, really. I didn't like that, so I felt that they should have choreographed it better so that they could get more in at least a few longer shots instead of cutting all over the place. Because the fight didn't really seem that difficult. I'm not quite sure why they needed it. I mean, at the time, 20 years ago, Jean Reno wasn't an old guy, so I do assume that he was definitely fit enough to do a well choreographed fight scene, so that was a bit disappointing. Otherwise though, in other places, like I said, the editing is used very, very well for sort of comic relief stuff, so it's good and bad at the same time, but overall it does bring it down. If you are interested where the film gets its name from, it was actually quite funny. The name Wasabi, in French at least, so in France they had a subtitle to go with it, and it is the little mustard that sort of gets up into your nose. Which is really, really funny. First of all, I wouldn't have classified wasabi as a mustard. Fine. But I thought that was really, really weird. So I'm sure that even 20 years ago, people in France knew what wasabi is. Maybe there's a whole other reason that this was added as a subtitle. I am not sure. Anyway, the name itself comes from one simple scene, which is great, where Jean Reno, he is with Michel Muller, and they're sitting in a restaurant, and a serving of wasabi is given to them. It's a rather large serving, so it's quite a heap of wasabi, and Jean Reno just gets stuck in to it with his finger. He just scoops out wasabi, puts it in his mouth, and just continues the conversation without any difference in his manner, nothing at all. And so you see Michel Muller's character, he is a bit confused by this, obviously, and he tells him that it's actually very, very hot stuff. Tries it himself just a bit, and he immediately downs a glass of water with ice and everything, so you can see it's obviously very, very strong wasabi, but Jean Reno's he just puts it in his mouth, swallows it without any problem. But while it is a very funny scene, of course it is, but I really don't get why that was chosen as the name of the film. It's so nonsensical, but I suppose that in the end is very fitting, because the film in and of itself is very nonsensical. It's just great. As you can tell from how I'm conducting myself now, I just had a lot of fun with this film. I watched it yesterday for the first time in well, over 10 years at least. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it still holds up. It's still a lot of great fun. No other film shows you Jean Reno playing golf expertly, or if you want to see his great dance moves, you get to do that in this film as well. There are many great moments, I feel. It's very, very good, very highly entertaining. It's also a rather short film. It's only 95 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken. So Again, I don't feel there is much you can fault this film for. Great fun, Saturday evening, popcorn, action flick, with very good humour. If you enjoy that kind of thing, this film is definitely for you. I'll have to try and get more films of Jean Reno to review for the channel. I do have one or two more in my collection. I'll probably have to do them at some point, because this is not a very typical film for him, I feel. While yes, he does action films where he's a policeman, etc, etc, this sort of slapsticky humour is quite refreshing to see from him. Okay, I'll leave the review there. Definitely watch it in my opinion if you can get it somehow. It's absolutely worth it. Don't trust the reviews online. If you're really not too harsh, this is a very enjoyable film. I would rate it really high. But I don't do ratings here because that gets too nitpicky for my liking, and I'd probably sit hours just to decide which rating I'm going to give it. Half point up or down, you know, I won't get into that kind of thing. Well, thank you for watching this review. Subscribe to the channel for more. Like the video, share it around. That would make me very happy. I'm very, very happy that we have got 50 subscribers. That's great, thank you very much. That's made me very, very happy, just at the time of the anniversary of the channel. So that's great. Looking forward to the second year. If you missed the anniversary video that I did last week, you can click up here to see that. I'll thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care, bye.